Hi everyone, in this video we will look at how to create a Mekko chart. So what is a Mekko chart? It's basically a stacked column chart with an extra dimension, which is the width. So if we look at this chart here, vertically this is a stacked column chart, but if you notice, the width of every stack is also changing, and those proportions are mentioned here at the bottom. PowerPoint doesn't have this natively, but we can use a workaround to create this. If we didn't make this chart, then how else would we show this information? One way you could do this is make two different charts. So the values at the bottom here would have to be a chart, and rest of it could be a regular stacked column chart like this one. So here we have the market share in a regular column chart. For each source, we have this regular stacked column chart. What Mekko Chart allows us to do is take these percentages and apply their proportions to the width of these bars. So we can get rid of one of these charts and have all this information as a part of a single chart like this one. So here, this is 2%, this is 4%, and so on. So it's a very concise and powerful chart. It does take a bit of effort to get this working in PowerPoint, but once you do it, I'm sure you will stand out and people will be asking you, hey, how did you even do it in PowerPoint? So let's look at how to create this. Before we go into PowerPoint, you will need to prepare your data in a specific format. Let's assume you get data in a format like this. So you have market share by each source, and then you have another table which has the stacked column chart data. You will need to take the data from these two tables and transform it into this single unified table. Feel free to pause here and make yourself familiar with this table because it will come in handy later. So here what we are doing is I'm taking this best to worst and transposing that into columns. So this 6% is here, 14% is here, 49 is here, and so on. So that's for source 1. We have 6 sources, so these are the 6 sources, and depending on the market share value, we will need to repeat the stacked column chart data those many times. So here, for example, source 1 is 2%, so that's why I have the values for source 1 repeated twice. Source 2 is 4%. That's why you see this repeated 4 times, and so on. If the value is too high, let's say 67%, you will have to repeat this 67 times. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really easy and fast if you do this in Excel. As an example, let's say this value was 67%. What you can do is you can have 67 values in this column as a reference. So I'm just going to drag this and stop at 67. Then you just copy one of these rows, then select all the cells up to rows 67 and just paste the values, and there you have repeated these values 67 times. So it's not that difficult. The smaller the values, the easier it is, but sometimes you will have larger values, in which case you will have to unfortunately repeat these values those many times. Let me undo all of that. Let's stick to 7% for simplicity. The reason why I have an empty row between sources is because we need a gap between two stacked column charts. If you don't want a gap, delete these empty rows from here, like I have done in this example. Essentially, this is the same chart. Here, I have removed the gaps. But once you do that, you will have to add these lines in between to separate these bars. Otherwise, it looks a bit confusing. So if I remove these lines, this is how it would look. It might be okay, but the lines help me read this data a little better. We have to add these lines manually. If you want to avoid this extra effort, just have these gaps in between. One more thing here is I have these share values in this column. These are not going to be part of the chart, but you can keep these as a reference. Spend a few minutes in getting this format right. Once you have prepared your data, go to PowerPoint, click on Insert, click on Chart, click on Column, select this stacked column chart, click OK. Let's get rid of the chart title, the grid lines. We don't need the legend. Then right click, open the data sheet. Go back to Excel, copy your values. Click on this A1 cell here and just paste it. Control V. Let me also add in this column here as a reference. Leave a column and paste it here. Let's fix our axis. So double click on the vertical axis. Let's have the maximum value as 100%. Double click on the bars. Change the gap width to 0. Let me enable the legend so I know what's what. Let me color these bars. So worst can be, say, this purple or violet. Then this one can be this light blue. Let's make this gray, this version of the gray. This can be this yellow, and the best value can be this green color. Now I want best to be at the top and purple at the bottom. There are a couple of ways we can do this. We can either reverse the order of our axis. So to do that, you'll need to double click on the vertical axis, and then on the right hand side, click on values in reverse order, and that will flip it. Or you can change this in the data source. So click on the chart, then under chart design, click on select data. So on the left hand side of this dialog box, we just need to manually move these in the reverse order. So best needs to be at the bottom. So click on best, then click on this down arrow and move this all the way to the bottom. Worst needs to be all the way at the top. Better needs to be just above best. Struggle needs to be just above neutral. Click OK. And that has fixed it without me having to change the axis. Now these labels are kind of misplaced or misaligned. There is no good way to fix this in PowerPoint, so we will have to delete this and add them in manually. So click on it, press delete. Let's enable the data values. You will have to do these one by one, because otherwise if you just enable them once, they will get enabled for all the bars. We just want them enabled for a single bar. So you will have to do this manually. Starting with this first value, just right click, click on add data label. Do that for the second one, the next one. Let me move these in the center. Same thing for this one. So I'm just going to speed this through. Let's format these. I'm going to make all of them bold. Let's also make some of them in white font so we can see them a bit better. Next up, add the axis labels. So this one is source 1, source 2. We can also add the column width or the market share numbers. So source 1, I remember, was 2%. The second one is 4%, then 1, 5, 3, 7. Then we can add some finishing touches, like we don't need the vertical axis, so let's get rid of this. Instead of having a legend like this, we can manually add the labels on the left hand side. Let's add a chart title. And that's pretty much it. So that's the process of making a Mekko chart. So give this a try and let me know what you think. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for future videos, and I will catch you next time.